Welcome to the Cotton Club Radio. I'm your host, Cotton Club. Man, oh man. I think this one is going to be one of my favorite episodes. This episode is called The Colonized Mind. You heard what I said, the colonized mind. I'm going to get straight into this, family. Now, what is a colonized mind? Because I'm going to keep it real, man. I'm going to keep it funky. It's a lot of y'all walking around with colonized energy, man. You understand? The colonized mind is the internalization of a colonial culture and worldview, leading to a sense of cultural inferiority and the acceptance of dominancy from those imposed colonizers. We have to talk about it, family, because I'm seeing a lot of colonized-minded people all over social media. You have some folks from here and some folks from the diaspora, but I'm seeing a major influx, for whatever reason, from a lot of people from Africa. I'm noticing there's a lot of folks from Africa, they're revering colonial culture. Many of them act like everything the white man touches is gold. And then you get another group of individuals who act like colonists, where they'll come to America and start to denigrate Black American culture. They'll come over here and say how we don't have any culture, and any remnants of culture, they'll dismiss it. You have to understand, when you study colonialism, one thing the colonists did to their subjects was dismiss their culture, and belittle their culture while trying to implant their particular culture. And I feel like a lot of Africans coming to America are doing this. They're trying to dismiss and belittle Black American culture, at the same time copying it, while at the same time trying to implement their culture as a dominant variation in our culture. And that's problematic. And then you get the Burkina Faso type Africans where they're against colonialism as is, but the problem is many of them are the minority. So I'm noticing this colonized mindset all over the internet. A lot of Africans are making TikTok videos, and the more they talk, the more they just sound colonized. They're attacking the delineation movement going on right now, where Black Americans are digging up our American roots. And many of us are finding out that we have ancestors that have been in this country since the 15th, 16th, 17th century. And many Black Americans are beginning to question, if we've been here for 5 centuries, are we really African? That question is a good question. I think it's an amazing question. But a lot of Africans are taking offense to that. But let me put that into perspective. 5 centuries is a long time, family. You could build a distinctive culture in just 1 century. So 5 centuries, there's definitely proof that not only are we not African, but we are a distinctive ethnic group with shared cultural identity, shared genetic markers, shared language, shared traditions, shared customs, and shared belief systems. And for this reason, people were beginning to wake up and abandon this whole African-American placeholder. And now they're starting to embrace their American roots by honoring their ancestors on this soil who fought and died fighting European colonialism. I don't see anything wrong with this, family. Us paying homage to our ancestors by not allowing them to be forgotten shouldn't offend anyone. That's for us to do. We're not trying to exclude anybody and make anybody feel left out, but at the same token, we're not going to allow other people to center themselves in something that ain't got nothing to do with them. This is about continuing a fight that's 5 centuries long. This is the problem to my people in the diaspora, all my peoples. I love y'all. But some of y'all coming over here and posing y'all opinions in business that ain't really y'all business. And it's causing feuds because you got too many opinions, man. What we're doing is a part of our own self-development. By doing this delineation, we're entering a whole new phase of decolonization, which is rediscovering and recovering. We're mourning, we're dreaming, we're committing, and now we're doing action. And this will help solidify us as a people, helping us to fight for restorative justice. What we need most from you as our brethren is your support, not your opinion. Right now, we're having a Black Renaissance, where this is the age of information and people are hungry for knowledge, researching, they're questioning, and they're being emboldened and empowered by the information. But at the same token, we shouldn't be disrespected and called names for us rediscovering 500 years of our history and feeling that we need to rewrite some of this stuff. We need to decolonize from some of the information that we've been told. I'm seeing a lot of videos online from Africans who will say that Black Americans are lost and Black Americans, they don't know where they come from. Black Americans are in denial. Black Americans don't know their roots, and Black Americans don't have no culture. Now I got to address some of this stuff. See, first of all, we know exactly where we come from. And yes, we're learning new things about ourselves and our ancestors every day. But this journey of self-discovery is ours. It's not yours. So stop trying to impose yourself into the conversation where you do not belong. And don't try to insult us while being in our homelands. This whole idea about we don't have culture is probably the most disgusting thing I've ever heard people. American culture is Black American culture. Our culture is so intertwined in American culture. Our food is intertwined, our language, our customs, our music, our ways of life, our intellectual property, our inventions, our ways of worship, pantomime, our behavior. It's all intertwined in American culture. Reality TV stems from a variation of Black culture. We would be called ghetto and degenerate for behaving like some of us behave. But then there's a whole industry off of mimicking and acting and behaving like certain variations of Black American culture. So we are the culture. It's just that when we do things, it gets ostracized and it gets demonized. When other people do things, say white people do those things, it gets pedestalized. And that's the variation of our culture that you're absorbing, if it's not our culture directly. So American culture is Black American culture. Do not get it twisted. You're not coming over here to a culturalist people while acting, behaving, and talking like us. As melanated people, we can all have our different, beautiful, unique experiences and still be united and not feel like we need to compete with each other. That is within itself a colonized mindset, because what are we competing for? The approval of the colonizer? That's what a caste system was created for, to create a buffer class between the colonizer and the colonized. And it seems like a lot of people are falling right in place. Damn, Cotton Club, you coming out swinging. All I'm saying is that when the colonizers pulled themselves away from the colonized, they left remnants in the minds of their subjects. And we're starting to see those remnants act in real time. So when Black Americans say our ancestors are from America, why would you denounce that? These are our lands. You don't question Jamaicans when they say their ancestors are from Jamaica. You don't question Haitians when they say their ancestors are from Haiti. You don't question Dominicans when they say their ancestors are from the Dominican Republic. But when we say our ancestors are from America, we are considered lost. That's a double standard. And we're not going to be everybody's punching bag. You understand? That's the whole colonized mind. The colonized mind is about asserting your beliefs over other people's beliefs. So when people say, this is who I am, you say, no, you're not. You're who I want you to be. And we're not having that. People are becoming fed up with this mentality of disrespecting Black Americans. Being Black American is not some trash bin that everybody can just throw their trash in under the banner of Blackness. Because as soon as, let's keep it funky, as soon as different groups start getting victories, they start individualizing themselves and telling you where they're from. All right. As soon as you start getting your trophies, as soon as you start getting your scholarships, you're quick to say, I'm Nigerian. But when those same groups are committing crimes, those crimes fall under Blackness. And that's considered Black on Black crime. See, family, that's over. We're not doing selective Blackness. We're going to have to gatekeep some of this stuff. Everybody do it. I remember when Michael B. Jordan wanted to name his rum Juve, and he was attacked all over Twitter by the Trinidadian community, particularly Nicki Minaj. She stepped up and said, hey, brother, this is ours. This ain't yours. This is me and my people's stuff. So you're going to have to change the name of that. And he changed the name of that because traditionally Juve is a Caribbean thing. I know. I used to go to Juve all the time. I love Juve. Shout out to all my Caribbean people. But there's nothing wrong with gatekeeping your culture. That's how you preserve your culture. And I feel like Black Americans, we ain't done that in a long time. Almost to the point, a lot of people just take from us and then try to say that we got it from them. You know what I'm saying? But moving on, I want to break down the colonized mind. But before I go there, I want to talk about something very, very important. I want to break down what an ethnogenesis is, because I don't think people really understand this term. Through ethnogenesis, we became a people here in America. Now, people might say, well, what is an ethnogenesis? Well, an ethnogenesis represents the process in which a group of people develop a distinctive ethnic identity. It involves the formation and evolution of an ethnic group, often through the blending of different people, traditions. This happens through various means, including migrations, interaction with the environment, cultural exchange, and political factors. The Black American has gone through this process entirely, and that's what makes us unique. It doesn't make us better. It doesn't make us worse. It just makes us unique in our own way. I think everybody's unique in their own way. That doesn't mean someone's putting you down because they're admiring themselves. And what this all means to my African family is that our cultural unique should be preserved and respected, no different than anyone else. See, what a colonized mind will do is make you believe that you had no history before the colonizer gave you a history. That before the colonizer came, you were nothing and nobody until the colonizer made you somebody. And this is the problem. People aren't just buying certain narratives. People are learning real history. And this is leading us into looking into our ancestry and understanding that fantasizing about Africa is cool, but then you got to deal with reality. A lot of those tribes and kingdoms no longer exist. Many of them were into the slave trade and were trading their own. Many of them partnered with the European enslavers. Many people today who are doing their DNA to reconnect with some of their ancestry that they may believe in Africa, may be reconnecting with people who sold them at one point or another. So what used to be blurred is starting to come to the surface, that a lot of our fantasy of Africa is starting to look like a nightmare, to be honest with you. We can look at tribes like the Dahomey, which is today modern day Benin. They were infamous slave catchers. In fact, they were probably the biggest slave catcher. But many people who don't know that will fantasize about going home to Benin. And then you do some research and find out that, these people basically enslaved your ancestors. So we're going to have to talk about this history, family. We cannot overlook that. So while Black Americans are starting to get off of the Pan-Africanism train, we are having a modern day Black Renaissance. What is a Renaissance? A Renaissance is a revival of learning, culture, a rebirth, a resurgence, a revitalization. People are now beginning to step away from old thought and concepts and adopt new concepts to empower themselves, family. And this is why I say decolonization is key. That is the process to do away with the cobwebs of colonialism and implant new thoughts, beliefs that empower us and take us to the next level. The information is there, but we have to get rid of that colonized mindset. We were told that our ancestors were brought here on slave ships and thrown on plantations for 246 years, then freed by a benevolent white man named Abraham Lincoln. But when we start to peel that onion back, man, none of that is true. Only 300,000 Africans were brought to the Northern Hemisphere. But they don't tell you that there were over 200 different indigenous tribes all across America at that time, many of whom were melanated with coarse hair and could pass for Black Americans today. They don't tell you about indigenous tribes like the Yamasee, tribes within the Georgia, South Carolina areas. You don't know about the Yamasee Wars. That was a conflict in South Carolina from 1715 to 1728 between the British settlers and Black indigenous folks for the territories of South Carolina and Georgia and Florida. After the Yamasee Wars, European history books say that the Yamasee disappeared. What? Hold on. So this distinctive indigenous tribe, they say that this tribe disappeared after the Yamasee War. So the British so after the war, the British didn't enslave them. They didn't, hey, man, why don't we just put these people on plantations and make them work? You know what I'm saying? We could use some of this blood. Hey, maybe we can use some of these women, right? So the Yamasee disappeared. They didn't even keep it real enough to say that they amalgamated into society. That's reasonable. But for them to just disappear don't even make no sense. This is the problem. The history that they taught us was a lie. And now it's starting to fall all apart. And if you're not questioning anything in 2025, you got to question your colonized mind. You understand what I'm saying? They want us to believe that we all came here in slave ships, that we don't have any claim to this land. This is the colonized version of our history, told to you by who? The colonizers. But let's continue. Let's continue to break down the colonized mind. So, where does this leave us in our fight for self-recognition and decolonization so that we can preserve our unique cultures, practices, beliefs as Black Americans, foundational Black Americans? Well, we will continue to fight while others suffer a colonized mentality where they're going through a psychological effect of colonization, where many of them are worshiping their colonizers, they're self-degrading, many of them are having Stockholm syndrome and suffering from internalized inferiority complexes, self-doubt, and all of these things, while we continue to focus on fighting for self-determination, self-identity, preservation, upward mobility, community building, restorative justice, as well as reclaiming and revitalizing our indigenous roots as the builders, architects, innovators, influencers, and intellects of this country called the American industry. We can also embrace and respect some of our African roots, but not at the expense of ethnic and cultural erasure. That's all I got for you, family. It's a Cotton Club Radio. Holla at me.